Yeah, appreciate it. I guess my slide deck guy is over there getting some wine, so we'll hold half. No, no. It'll be way more entertaining if you get some wine in you. So as we get going, yeah, my name is Andrew Wickland. I actually, my background for the last decade or so, I've been doing a lot of risk analysis, a lot of project controls in general, cost, schedule. I used to work for a company called PertMaster that we ended up getting acquired by Primavera, and then they subsequently got purchased by Oracle. So we, after a while working with at Primavera, kind of went off and started doing our own things relative to risk management. And the presentation is not about our software. I think a lot of the struggle we have in the industry and project controls, and it doesn't matter what industry you're really in. It's no different in an oil and gas environment than a heavy construction, government environments. They're all the same. People don't know what the heck risk is, but they know they want to check the box. Risk, it really shouldn't be a check the box kind of a thing. It's the one thing that can tank your organization. You've got, companies that have lost branches of, entire divisions have gone under because they've not calculated the risk correctly. I mean, there's companies out there, I don't want to single anyone out. I would single them out if I wasn't being taped, but Shaw Group is one that went under all by themselves. And the biggest of the big, KBR, I think, lost a division, and I know they do a good job relative to risk analysis. It is the one thing that can really tank your organization. So the purpose of this is really demystifying what risk analysis really is, because it's the type of thing, the most frustrating thing for us is convincing people they should even be doing it properly. It's like, no, we just really want to check a box here. That's what we're trying to accomplish. Well, it isn't a check the box type of a thing. And when we talk to people, we're years away from being able to do this. Well, you're doing it every day. You're just not doing it formally or probably effective enough. So instead of looking maybe deep into a project, we've kind of got another method. We're going to go through a few slides. I tend to think slides aren't the most exciting thing in the world. Fortunately, that's what you've got the wine for. That'll excite it a little bit. When we get going, we're going to mock up a risk workshop, because you'll see, we'll do a little bit. You'll see kind of some reports and some software, so we'll take a real life thing that we're already calculating in our minds, and then we'll relate that over to, how does that work in project? And you'll see it's not complicated. Anytime someone says it's 2 years to get to where we can do risk, that's a mindset that's a little bit scary in general. And probably some of the reason divisions and things like that do fall apart. But like I said, even with KBR, I know they do a really good job relative to risk. They do things formally, and you can still get bitten. So when you see companies who are doing the right things and they still get bitten, if you're not doing the right things, that's a terrifying situation. So if you go ahead and hit me next slide. Rules of the road. What is risk? The risk process. This is our whole agenda for it. So we'll walk through this. This will be our slide deck. Really after that, though, as we get through, we're going to go in and just mock up a workshop. The same type of thing we would do for any organization. When we come in and talk to them, we'll say, these are your risks. And risk management isn't just about, okay, here's your risks, job done. Well, now you need to make the risk go away. It's not just, hey, I told you a bunch of bad things, we're done. How do we fix them? So that's what risk management is. So if you'll hit me in the next one. The rules of the road. These are Chris's rules of the road. I never signed up for this, so I'm going to have fun. I hope everybody goes with that one, but once again, that's Chris's rule. If you need to take, I don't know if we have pens extra somewhere. Since we're on camera, I'll say, oh yeah, the pens are right over there. Good job, Chris. As you go through this, though, if you do have any questions, interject at any point. This isn't the type of thing, I know there's a question period at the end. Jump in at any point. The less I talk and the more everybody else interacts, I think the more entertaining it is for anyone else. If you do need to go at any point, the restrooms are around into the corner. feel free during the presentation, if you need to get a little bit more food or refresh your drinks, go ahead and do that while we're going. But, don't hesitate to jump in, because this is the type of stuff, this risk stuff isn't as hard as people make it. People make it into the most difficult thing in the world, and it's in a black box, and it's scary. It's not at all. So if you'll hit the next one. So I put in the international standard right here, the ISO definition of risk management. And you've got PMI has a different definition for risk. AACE has a different definition. APM in the UK has a different definition. All sorts of organizations have slightly different definitions of what risk is. So this is the effect of uncertainty on objectives. Okay. What I look at is, first thing when you're looking at risk, there's two parts of it. There's good and there's bad. Because risk, if it's a bad thing, it's a threat. If it's a good thing, there's an opportunity. On projects, a lot of time, people are looking only at the bad stuff. And you're looking at making the bad stuff not happen. Well, if you're always focused on making the bad stuff not happen, you're probably not spending enough time looking at the good stuff that you could make happen. So one of the important things is, don't look just at the threats. Look at the opportunities as well, because we could spend $1 million mitigating threats. But maybe if we had spent $50,000 somewhere making an opportunity happen, hey, we could reuse this design work. Maybe you save a lot more than that. Maybe you save millions by getting an opportunity to happen. Want visibility into the threats and opportunities. Normally when we look at people's environments, you see it, all threats everywhere. Only bad things could ever happen to us. Nothing good will ever happen. Well, people aren't really documenting the good stuff that can happen. And that's one of the reasons a lot of times the good stuff doesn't happen. If you're not putting it on the radar, it's probably not going to happen. You can take all that stuff from any organization. At the end of the day, risk, there's good or bad things, may or may not happen. And that's going to affect us. Whether that's at a project level, we're looking at a program of projects, we're looking at a portfolio. Hey, there's good or bad stuff, and we don't know if it'll happen or not. I'm driving to work here, or I'm driving to this presentation. Hey, traffic could be bad. Well, that's a bad thing that could happen. Hey, traffic could be non-existent today. That'd be a good thing that could happen. I'm planning on 30 minutes. How many people took longer than they expected to get here tonight with the bad traffic? So the threat hit. We didn't maybe mitigate it, so everybody got here a little bit late. We started a little bit late. Maybe people didn't get as much wine as they wanted because of it, but that mitigation wasn't done relative to that threat up front. So people, there's other reasons. People couldn't get out early, et cetera. But I know the traffic was just terrible tonight, and there's not much you can do about that sometimes. So risk in general, it's just the good or bad things that could happen to anything that's going to affect your desired outcome and your planned outcome. So next slide. This is for ISO. This is their risk process. So this is, you want to establish the context, then you do some analysis and some assessment on it. So they've got it circled in here, identify, analyze, and evaluate the risks. Then after that, you want to treat the risks. And this whole time, you're monitoring or reviewing, communicating, doing all that stuff. If you hit the next slide, so this is what they say, this is what you should be doing. The reason that scares me, and it's a lot of companies in the industries, and it's all the different industries are doing about the same thing. It is pretty scary. That, if everybody just takes a mental snapshot of this guy in their brain, this is the theoretical perfection. This is what we're striving to do, whatever this stuff means. We'll look at what it means. But if you go to the next slide, this is kind of what happens in actuality. Since risk is kind of a lot of times on the back burner, or you've got a guy with a propeller on his head in the corner doing it, it doesn't get all the attention in the world. Kind of did this is the real life, this is how we're going to do risk. Did it in MS Paint because that's about how much time risk often gets. So established context, I think people do a good job on that. Whether it's the context they should be looking at or not, we'll see. In terms of assessing the risk, normally what people want to do, you want to identify things that aren't going to get you in trouble. I don't want to draw attention to things that I don't want people to look at. Now, if I did draw attention to those things, maybe we'd fix them. But it sounds like a lot of work, and maybe I'm going to get in trouble. So that tends to be what people do. Anything that's not my fault, not my risk, That's what I want to rank high. So if I can blame Chris, and Chris is the problem, makes my job a lot easier. So in my assessment, I really want to put the risk on you and you and you. And all my stuff is low risk, so you shouldn't really bother me. Talk to those guys. After that, you really want to draw attention to them. Pass the blame as much as possible. Now, the mitigations. So I've got these risks, and everything's your fault now. You know, I'm the contractor. Nothing's my fault. Your review times are too long. The owner's doing all the damage. And if I'm the owner, their risk register is the polar opposite. Nothing is my fault as the owner. We do everything perfectly. Contractor can't do their engineering.